All right, let's dive into something pretty powerful today.
Okay.
It might just change how you think about making real change happen.
Okay.
Whether you're a teacher, a school leader,
Mm-hmm.
or just someone who honestly wants to make things better,
Yeah.
we're going to be talking about coaching
Oh, cool.
and how it can transform not just like one classroom, but entire schools,
Wow.
like whole
The
systems.
whole system.
Yeah.
Okay.
So think of this as your crash course in a really fantastic book,
Okay.
The Art of Coaching by Elena Aguilar.
Oh, yeah, I've heard of that one.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
It's amazing. It really is.
Oh, good.
It's packed with those moments where you're like, oh, I never thought of it that way before.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, exactly.
That's always a
Okay.
good feeling.
It is, yeah.
Yeah.
And, when I first saw the title, I was kind of thinking, okay, is this going to be like 10 tips to be a better coach?
Right, right.
Yeah, but it's so much deeper than that.
Oh, wow.
It really is.
Okay.
She compares coaching to, like, creating a piece of art,
Interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
which, for me, that just made it click. Because you've got to get vision, right? You have your tools and the process,
Uh-huh.
the way you go about it.
Yeah.
That matters just as much as what you end up with. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, I
Yeah.
do. That makes sense.
It's not about, like, just, here's the answer, do this.
Right, right.
So she focuses on what she calls transformational coaching.
Transformational coaching.
Have you heard that term before?
I have, but I'm not sure I totally get it.
Okay, yeah.
What exactly does that mean?
Well, it's kind of mind-blowing.
Okay.
It's like it goes way beyond just, okay, we're going to teach you how to do this one thing better, or like tweaking your lesson plan or whatever.
Oh, interesting.
It's about shifting a person's entire way of being.
Wow.
It's like their beliefs about themselves, about their work, even how they see the whole education system.
Huh. So it's like you're not just solving a little problem.
Right.
You're trying to change how they see the world.
Yeah, exactly. Like think about all those big issues we see.
Right.
The achievement gaps, teachers getting burned out,
Oh, yeah.
all that stuff, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Aguilar's saying to really fix those,
Yeah.
you can't just look at the surface, like
yeah.
the test scores and whatever, right?
Okay.
Got to go deeper.
You have to find the why behind the what.
Yes, you got it.
Okay.
And that's where this transformational coaching comes in.
Gotcha.
It helps us see, like, what are those hidden beliefs?
Yeah.
Or, like, those things built into the system
Right.
that are holding people back.
Okay. Yeah. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and it reminded me of that story Aguilar tells about the principal who totally misjudged a teacher.
Oh.
Yeah, just based on a quick observation.
Wow. Everyone's done that, right?
I know, right? But she uses it to explain this thing called the ladder of inference.
The ladder of inference. Okay.
And basically, it's like we all have this mental ladder,
Mm-hmm.
built from our past experiences,
Yeah.
our assumptions,
Oh, okay.
and we make these judgments without even realizing it.
It's like you see what you expect to see.
Exactly. Not necessarily what's actually happening.
Right, right.
And coaches can help people, like, deconstruct that ladder,
Oh, that's interesting.
right? Help them slow down, check their assumptions,
Okay.
get more info
Yeah.
before jumping to conclusions.
That's a good skill for anyone.
It is. And it made me realize, oh my gosh,
Yeah.
how many times have I done that?
Yeah, me too.
Without even knowing.
I bet.
So self-awareness, I think, is like crucial
Yeah.
if you want to be good at coaching.
Absolutely.
And Aguilar, she actually lays out all these essential beliefs for coaches, almost like a personal manifesto.
A manifesto, huh?
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
What are some of the things she says?
Well, one that I thought was really powerful was being unattached to outcomes.
Unattached to outcomes.
Yeah, it's like you trust the process. I was
Yeah.
like, you believe in the person's ability to grow and change,
Okay.
even if it doesn't go exactly as planned.
Right. Because people don't always change in a straight line, do they?
No, they don't. It's messy sometimes. And
Yeah.
I think that's true, not just for coaching, but anything where you're working with people, especially something like education,
Absolutely. You can't always control what happens.
right? But you can create the conditions for growth.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, it is.
And then she goes on to talk about what she calls the coach's toolkit.
The coach's toolkit. Okay.
Yeah, and it's these 6 lenses.
6 lenses.
6 lenses that can help you analyze things from different angles, see things differently.
Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
So how do these lenses work? Can you give me an example?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's say you're coaching a teacher who's just having a really tough time with student engagement.
Okay, yeah, that's a common one.
Right.
Yeah.
So the first lens is inquiry door.
Incorrect.
Yeah, so you start by asking, like, what does the teacher think is going on?
Um,
What's their perspective on why the kids aren't engaged?
So you start by really listening.
Yes, exactly. And then you can bring in the change manager lens.
Change management. Okay.
Yeah, so you start thinking, what are the things that might be getting in the way of change?
No, not just the teacher, but also the context they're in, right?
Yeah, like is it the curriculum, the classroom setup, maybe even things happening outside of school?
Oh, okay. So you're looking at the bigger picture.
Exactly. And then there's the systems thinking lens.
Systems thinking.
Yeah, and this one helps you connect that classroom issue to, like, the larger systems at play. Like,
Right.
are there school policies that are actually, without meaning to, making things harder?
Oh, interesting.
Or things in the community?
Right,
It
right.
starts to get really complex.
Yeah, definitely.
But it helps you see the whole picture, you know?
It does. It really does.
Okay, and then we've got the adult learning lens.
Adult learning.
Yeah, because you got to think about how to approach this coaching in a way that respects the teacher's experience.
Right. They're the expert in their classroom.
They are. So it's not about telling them what to do. It's about helping them learn and grow.
So they find their own solutions.
Yes, exactly. And then we can't forget about the lens of systemic oppression.
Oh, that's an important one.
It is, right? Because sometimes there might be things like racial bias
Yeah.
or socioeconomic factors
Yeah.
that are playing a part, and we don't even realize it.
And that can definitely affect student engagement.
Oh, absolutely. And then finally, there's the emotional intelligence lens.
Emotional intelligence. Okay.
Yeah, which reminds us that we got to pay attention to everybody's feelings, the teachers, the students.
It's about creating a space where everyone feels safe and supported.
Yeah, and that can make a huge difference in how engaged kids are, right?
Oh, absolutely. Wow. So just looking at student engagement through those 6 lenses, it suddenly seems so much more complicated
I know, right?
than just saying like, oh, you need to make your lessons more fun.
Exactly. And that's what I love about this framework.
Yeah.
It helps you move beyond those simple solutions and really get to the root of the issue.
And I bet it can be overwhelming.
It can. It's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
And that's why Aguilar really stresses how important it is to build trust.
Trust. Yeah, that makes sense.
It's like the foundation for everything else.
Right, because if you don't have trust,
Yeah.
the coaching isn't going to work.
Exactly. And she gives some really practical advice,
Oh, like what?
like acknowledging the client's expertise,
Right.
being open about yourself,
Mhm.
and making sure there's confidentiality.
Yeah, that's huge.
It is.
Yeah.
And you know what? This isn't just for coaching.
No.
No, it's for any relationship
Right.
where you want to help someone grow,
Yeah, that makes sense.
whether it's at work, at home, with friends.
Absolutely.
It all starts with trust.
Okay, so let's say you've built that trust.
Yeah.
What's the next step in this process?
Yeah. Well, then it's time to get strategic, right? You got to get a plan.
Right.
But what I love about Aguilar's approach to making a work plan
Yeah.
is it's not about the coach coming in with all the answers and telling the person what to do,
Oh, that's good.
right? It's a real partnership.
A true collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they work together to figure out the goals, the actions, how they're going to measure progress.
Mm-hmm.
And she really emphasizes these SMART goals.
SMART goals. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, you know the acronym?
Yes. Specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, time-bound.
Yes. But she adds an E at the end
Oh, an E.
for evaluating.
Oh, evaluate. That's a good one.
Right. Because it's so easy to set goals and then never actually check if they're working.
It's true. Yeah.
Yeah, so that evaluation piece is key
Yeah.
to know if the coaching's actually making a difference.
It's like, are we seeing the changes we wanted?
Yeah,
If not, why not? And then what do we do differently?
exactly. It's all about constantly getting better.
I like that.
Yeah.
So we've got the trust. We've got a good plan with goals that we're actually going to check.
Yep.
What happens next?
Well, then it's time for those coaching conversations.
Okay, the conversations.
Yeah, and Aguilar breaks down like different types of conversations, each with its own techniques.
Oh, interesting.
So there's facilitative conversations
facility.
where the coach is kind of guiding the person to figure out their own solutions through
yeah.
questions and reflection.
So not giving them the answers, but
Yeah.
helping them find the answers themselves.
Exactly. And then there's the directive approach,
Correct.
where the coach is giving more specific advice, instruction,
Okay.
like, here's how to do this.
Right.
You know,
Gotcha.
and a good coach, they know when to switch back and forth.
That's tricky.
It is, right.
Yeah.
This is, sometimes a person just needs a little nudge
Uh-huh.
to think things through,
Yeah.
and other times they need more concrete tools.
Right.
You know,
Right.
it depends on the person and the situation.
So you have to read the room.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And here's another thing.
Yeah.
Coaching isn't always just sitting down and talking.
No.
No, Aguilar talks about getting creative.
Creative with coaching.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like visualization, role-playing, even using metaphors or like making collages.
Wow, that's not what I expected.
I know, right? It's kind of out there.
Yeah.
But I love that she encourages it
Yeah.
because those creative activities, they can really get you thinking in a different way.
Oh, totally.
And that can help uncover stuff that you might not even realize is there.
It's like you're accessing a different part of your brain.
Yeah, Exactly. And it could be really powerful for addressing those deeper issues.
Right, the mindsets, the beliefs.
Yeah, because it's not just about changing what you do, it's about changing how you see yourself.
You do. That's a really good point.
And then, of course, there's feedback.
Oh, yeah, feedback's important.
It is, but it can also be kind of tricky.
It can be.
Right. Because nobody likes to be criticized.
No, they don't.
So Aguilar makes it really clear feedback is not the same as criticism.
Oh, okay.
It's about giving information that has someone grow and improve.
Right, right.
And she has some great tips for how to do it well, like focusing on specific things you observe
Okay.
instead of making judgments,
Mm-hmm.
and connecting the feedback to the goals you set in the work plan.
So it's all tied together.
Exactly. And always ending with clear next steps.
So the person knows what to do next.
Yes. And she even gives specific wording for how to phrase things.
Oh, that's helpful.
It is, right?
Yeah.
Because it depends on the person.
Right, right.
What works for one person might not work for another.
Absolutely.
And sometimes the best feedback happens right in the moment.
Oh, like on the spot.
Yeah, she calls it on-the-spot coaching.
The spot coaching. Okay.
Like you observe a teacher doing their thing,
Yeah.
and then you give them immediate feedback.
Oh, wow.
But it's got to be something they can actually use right away.
Right. Not something too complicated.
Exactly, like a small tweak.
Oh, okay.
That can make a big difference.
Gotcha.
And then there's using data as feedback.
Data, that's interesting.
Yeah, which could be really helpful, especially for school leaders,
Oh, yeah.
because it helps them see patterns, trends
Mm-hmm.
that they might not notice otherwise.
Right.
And then use that info to make better decisions.
Right. Data-driven decisions.
Exactly. And it can help you identify those things that Aguilar calls fires.
Fires.
Yeah, those problems that just keep popping up over and over.
Right. Like you're constantly putting out fires.
Yeah. And those fires, they're often a sign that something in the system isn't working right.
Okay.
And if you look at the data, especially through an equity lens,
Yeah.
you can start to see which students are being most affected by those problems.
So you can target your efforts where they're most needed.
Yes. It's about connecting those individual problems to the bigger context.
The whole system.
Yeah. And then using that info to make real change.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. It's kind of powerful stuff.
It is.
And Aguilar even gets into coaching for time management,
Oh, time management.
which, let's face it, is something we all struggle with,
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
right? Teachers, administrators, everyone.
So much to do, so little time.
I know. Lesson planning, grading, meetings, emails, it never ends.
It feels impossible sometimes.
It really does. So she recommends using Stephen Covey's framework.
Stephen Covey.
Yeah, urgent versus important.
Oh, right, right.
It's about helping people prioritize,
Yeah.
right? Focus on the things that really matter
Okay.
instead of getting bogged down in all those little urgent things.
Right, because those can really drain your energy.
They do. They do. And then, of course, there's the importance of planning those conversations
Yeah.
and documenting the work that's happening.
Right.
Aguilar gives tons of tips for keeping track of everything.
That's helpful.
It is, because you want to be organized and intentional about it,
Yeah, it shouldn't just be random.
Exactly. And she also talks about the importance of reflecting.
Reflecting.
Yeah, both the coach and the person being coached.
Okay.
Like, what's working, what's not working,
Mm-hmm.
how can we do things better next time,
It's about constantly learning and growing.
Yes, always improving.
I like that.
Yeah, it's a journey, right? Not always easy.
Yeah, I was going to say,
Oh, tell me about it.
there have got to be some challenges that come up.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Yeah.
And, I was kind of relieved.
Oh,
Because Aguilar actually talks about some of those challenges.
okay.
Like dealing with resistance,
Oh, yeah.
navigating those conversations that get emotional,
Mm.
and even like how to manage your own emotions as a coach so you don't get burned out.
Oh, that's Hedge.
It is. It is. And it made me feel better. Like, okay, I'm not the only one who struggles with this stuff.
Right, you're not alone.
Exactly. Exactly. And she gives some good advice for dealing with those challenges.
Okay, like what?
Well, like using those coaching lenses we talked about
Yeah.
to reframe the situation, see it from a different angle,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of yourself
Yeah,
so you don't get burned out.
right. Self-care is so important.
It is. And reaching out for support when you need it.
Like to other coaches or mentors?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
It's all about having a good support system.
It is. It really is.
Okay, so we've talked a lot about the benefits of coaching.
We have
But what about the potential downsides?
the downsides.
Yeah, are there any risks involved?
Well, Aguilar does mention some things to watch out for.
Oh, like what?
Well, like sometimes a client might develop inappropriate feelings for the coach.
Oh, wow, that's tricky.
It is, right? And so you have to be really careful about boundaries
Yeah.
to keep things professional.
Right, right.
And you could give some advice on how to handle that,
Okay.
like how to address it directly,
Mm-hmm.
but appropriately so you can still maintain that coaching relationship.
That's a tough situation to navigate.
It is. It is.
But it sounds like she has some good tips.
Yeah, and it all comes back to keeping the focus on the client's growth,
Right,
not letting it get personal or blurry.
right. Keep it professional.
Exactly, exactly.
So, besides those tricky situations, are there any other downsides to coaching?
Well, the other big one is burnout.
Burnout. Yeah, we were talking about that earlier.
Yeah, and it's a real risk, especially in education.
Oh, for
You're
sure.
constantly giving, giving, giving,
Yeah,
and it can be hard to take care of yourself.
absolutely.
So Aguilar talks about finding ways to stay true to yourself
Oh, okay.
in that coaching role
Yeah.
and setting boundaries.
Boundaries are key.
They are, so you don't feel like you're on all the time.
Right, because you can't pour from an empty cup.
Exactly. You got to take care of yourself first.
You can take care of others.
Yes, it's like that oxygen mask
Yeah,
analogy.
I love that analogy.
But you got to put your own mask on first.
Before you can help anyone else.
Exactly, exactly. And Aguilar also talks about the need for professional development for coaches,
Professional development. Yeah, that makes sense.
right? Just like any other profession.
Of course.
You got to keep learning and growing.
So what did she recommend?
Well, she says we need clear standards for coaches.
Standards. Okay.
Yeah, and ways to assess their skills.
To make sure they're effective.
Exactly. If we want coaching to be taken seriously,
Yeah,
we got to make sure it's high quality.
right.
And she also talks about creating more opportunities for coaches to learn from each other,
Oh, that's a good idea.
right? Like peer coaching.
Peer coaching. I like that.
Yeah, where coaches coach each other.
Oh,
Or using case studies.
case study.
Yeah, to analyze real situations and brainstorm different approaches.
That sounds really valuable.
It is.
Yeah,
So we've covered a lot.
we have.
The what, the why, the how is this whole transformational coaching thing.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. But I'm wondering, what does it all mean for our listener?
Right, right.
Who's sitting there thinking, okay, this is all great, but how does this apply to my life?
That's a good question.
Right.
Yeah.
So what would you say is the biggest takeaway?
Well, for me, it's the idea that coaching, especially this transformation behind, it's not just about fixing problems.
Okay.
It's about empowering people to create lasting change.
I like that.
Yeah.
So not just for themselves, but for the systems they're a part of.
Exactly.
It's about changing mindsets,
Yeah.
building relationships,
Mm-hmm.
and tapping into that potential that we all have.
That we all have, but sometimes forget about.
Exactly. And doing all of this within these systems that often feel so complex and hard to change.
Yeah. Systems can be overwhelming.
They can. But like Aguilar reminds us, even small actions can make a difference.
Right. It all starts somewhere.
Yeah. And if you do those small actions with intention and skill,
Mm.
they can ripple outward
Oh, yeah.
and create a positive impact.
The butterfly effect.
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of that quote by Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Oh, I love that quote.
Right. It's so powerful.
It is.
So to bring it back to our deep dive today,
Yeah.
I want to leave our listener with a question.
Okay.
How can you use the principles of coaching,
Mm-hmm.
the listening, the questioning, the feedback, to help someone in your life grow?
That's a good one.
Right? It could be a student, a colleague, a friend, a family member.
Anyone you want to support.
Exactly. Remember, transformation always starts with a single step.
That's true.
So what would your first step be?
What will your first step be?
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep believing in the power of change.
Thanks for listening.
Thanks for joining us. So we've built that trust, right? And now it's time to get a little more, I don't know, strategic,
Okay. Yeah.
make a plan.
Plan, right?
Yeah, a work plan. But
Mm-hmm.
what I really liked about how Aguilar talks about it is it's not about the coach just like dictating,
Oh. Oh.
telling the person, do this, do that.
Right, right. Yeah, it shouldn't be that way.
No, it's a real partnership.
Okay.
Like a true collaboration.
Corroboration. Yeah, yeah.
I like that.
Yeah.
And they work together to figure out, okay, what are our goals?
Uh-huh.
What actions that we get to take?
Yeah.
How are we going to measure if it's working?
Right. How do you know if you're making progress?
Yeah. And she's big on those SMART goals.
SMART goals. That rings a bell.
I know, right? Everyone's heard of them.
Yeah, but refresh my memory.
Okay, so specific, measurable, attainable,
Right.
relevant, time-bound.
Yeah.
But she adds an E at the end.
What's the E for?
Evaluate it.
Oh, evaluated. That's a good one.
Right. Because it's so easy to be like, okay, these are our goals, and then never actually look back and see.
If you're actually achieving them.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that evaluation piece is super important.
It is, yeah.
To know if the coaching's making a real difference.
Like, are we actually seeing the changes we were hoping
Exactly.
for? And
Exactly.
if not, what do we need to tweak?
Yeah. It's all about constant improvement.
Okay, I'm with you.
Okay, so we've got the trust, we've got a solid plan, goals that we're going to actually check up on.
Uh-huh. What's next?
Well, then it's time for the coaching conversation.
Okay, the conversations, yeah.
Yeah, and Aguilar breaks down different types each with its own techniques.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so you've got facilitative conversations
Facilitate.
where the coach is basically guiding the person to discover their own solutions
Okay.
through questions, reflection, that kind of thing.
So you're not telling them what to do?
Right, you're helping them figure it out themselves.
Oh, okay, I see.
And then there's the directive approach,
Directive.
which is more like, here's how to do this specific thing.
Oh, okay, more guidance instruction.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a skilled coach, they know when to use which approach.
Oh, that's got to be tricky.
It is.
Knowing when to switch back and forth.
Yeah, because sometimes someone just needs a little nudge, you know?
Mm-hmm. To think things through on their own.
Exactly. And other times they're like, just tell me what to do.
Right, right.
So you got to read the room.
Okay, that makes sense. And, another thing that surprised me is that she talks about coaching being more than just talking.
Oh, yeah.
Like getting creative with it.
Creative?
Yeah, she suggests things like visualization, role-playing, even metaphors or collages.
I know, right? It's not what you'd expect,
Wow, not at all.
but it's brilliant
Yeah, I like that.
because it gets you thinking in a different way.
It's like you're accessing a different part of your brain.
Exactly. And that can help uncover those hidden beliefs, those assumptions.
Right, the stuff that's holding you back.
Yeah. It's not just about changing your behavior, it's about changing how you see yourself.
I see. That's powerful.
It is. It really is.
So we've talked about trust, work plans, conversations, even getting creative.
Mm-hmm.
What about feedback? That's a big part of coaching, right?
Oh, absolutely. And Aguilar's really clear. Feedback is not the same as criticism,
Okay, good distinction.
right? It's about giving information that helps someone grow and improve,
Right, right.
not about tearing them down.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
Exactly. And she gives some fantastic tips for how to do it well.
Like what?
Well, like focus on what you actually observed,
Mm-hmm.
not your judgments,
Okay.
and connect the feedback to those goals you set in the work plan.
Right, so it's all tied together.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
always end with concrete next steps so the person knows exactly what to do.
Oh, I like that.
Right.
Yeah, actionable steps.
Yeah. And she even gives specific wording like how to phrase things differently, depending on the person.
Oh, that's helpful.
It is. Right.
Yeah,
Because what works for one person might not work for another.
absolutely.
And sometimes the best feedback is that on-the-spot coaching.
On the spot.
Yeah, like you're observing a teacher
Uh-huh.
and you give them feedback right then and there.
Wow, in the moment.
Yeah. But it's got to be something they can use right away.
Right, not something too complex.
Exactly. Like
Okay.
a little tweak that can make a big difference.
Gotcha.
And then there's using data as feedback.
Data, interesting.
Yeah. Which can be really helpful, especially for school leaders.
Oh.
Because it helps them see patterns,
Yeah.
trends,
Uh-huh.
that they might not notice just from like walking around the school.
Right,
You know,
right.
And then they can use that info to make more informed decisions.
Data-driven decisions.
Exactly. And it can help you figure out what Aguilar calls those fires.
Fires.
Yeah, those problems that keep coming up again and again.
Oh, like you're constantly putting them out.
Yeah. And those fires, they're often a sign that something in the system is broken, you know.
Okay, yeah.
And if you look at the data, especially through an equity lens,
Mm-hmm.
you can see which students are being hit the hardest by those problems.
So you can focus your efforts where they're most needed.
Exactly. It's about connecting those individual issues to the bigger context.
The whole system.
Yeah. And then using that information to make real, lasting change.
That makes a lot of sense.
It's pretty amazing stuff.
It is.
And she even talks about coaching for time management.
Oh, time management. Everybody needs help with that.
I know, right? Teachers, administrators, everyone.
Tell me about it.
So much to do, so little time.
It never ends.
It really doesn't. Lesson planning, grading, meetings, emails. It's like,
It's overwhelming.
it is. So she recommends using Stephen Covey's framework,
Stephen Covey. Oh, yeah.
urgent versus important.
Right.
It's about helping people prioritize, focus on the things that really move the needle
Okay.
instead of getting bogged down in all those little things that feel urgent.
Right. But might not actually be that important in the long run.
Exactly. It just drain your energy.
Yeah.
Okay. And then, of course, she talks about the importance of planning for those coaching conversations.
Okay.
And documenting what's happening.
Right.
Like keep track of the goals, the progress, the next steps.
Yeah. So it's organized and intentional.
Exactly. You don't want to just be winging it.
Right.
And then she also talks about reflecting,
Reflecting. Yeah.
both the coach and the person being coached.
Okay.
Like what's working, what's not working, what can we do differently?
It's all about constantly learning and improving.
Yes. It's a journey.
It is,
It's
definitely.
not always easy.
No, I was going to say there got to be challenges that come up along the way.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And, I was kind of relieved when Aguilar actually addressed some of those challenges.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, like how to deal with resistance from the person you're coaching.
Oh, yeah, that's got to be tough.
It can be. And then those conversations that get really emotional,
Ooh,
you
yeah.
know, and even how to manage your own emotions as a coach.
Right, so you don't get burned out yourself.
Exactly. Exactly. And it just made me feel better. Like, okay, I'm not the only one who struggles with this stuff.
Right, you're not alone.
Exactly. And she gives some really helpful advice for navigating those challenges.
Oh, that's good. Like what?
Well, like using those coaching lenses we talked about earlier
Yeah, right.
to reframe the situation, see it from a different perspective,
Mm-hmm.
taking care of yourself so you don't get burned out.
Self-care is so important.
It is. It is. And reaching out for support when you need it.
Yeah, to other coaches or mentors.
Yeah, yeah.
Having a good support system can make all the difference.
It really can. Okay, so we've talked a lot about the good stuff, the benefits of
A
coaching,
benefit, yeah.
but are there any, I don't know, downsides?
Downsides, like risks involved.
Yeah, like are there things that could go wrong?
Okay, I see what you mean.
Yeah, and Aguilar does mention a few things to watch out for.
Oh, like what?
Well, like sometimes a client might develop, I don't know how to say this, inappropriate feelings for the coach.
Oh, wow, that's tricky.
It is, right? It can get really messy.
Yeah.
So boundaries are super important
Boundaries, yeah.
to keep things professional.
Right, right.
And she gives some advice on how to handle that situation,
Oh, good.
like how to address it directly but appropriately,
Mm-hmm.
so you can hopefully maintain that coaching relationship.
That's a tough one to navigate.
It is. It is.
But it sounds like she has some good strategies.
Yeah, and it all comes back to keeping the focus on the client's growth,
Right,
not letting things get personal or blurred.
right. Keep it professional.
Exactly. So besides that, the other big downside is burnout.
Burnout, yeah, we were talking about that before.
Yeah, for the coach. And it's a real risk, especially in a field like education.
Oh, absolutely.
You're constantly giving.
Yeah, it's easy to get depleted.
It is. It is. So Aguilar talks about finding ways to stay true to yourself
Okay,
in that coaching role
yeah.
and setting boundaries.
Boundaries are key.
They are. So you don't feel like you're on all the time.
Right, you need time to recharge.
Exactly. You got to take care of yourself first.
So you can take care of others.
Yes. It's like that oxygen mask analogy.
Oh, I love that analogy.
Right.
Yeah,
You got to put your own mask on first.
before you can help anyone else.
Exactly. And Aguilar also talks about the need for professional development for coaches.
Professional development, yeah, that makes sense.
Right. Just like any other profession.
Of course.
Got to keep learning and growing.
So what does she recommend?
Well, she says we need clear standards for coaches.
Standards, okay.
Yeah, and ways to assess their skills, you know.
You make sure they're effective.
Exactly. If we want coaching to be taken seriously, we got to make sure it's high quality.
Right.
And she also talks about creating more opportunities for coaches to learn from each other,
Oh, that's a great idea.
right? Like peer coaching.
Peer coaching, I like that.
Yeah, where coaches coach each other.
Oh, interesting.
Or using case studies.
Studies.
Yeah, to analyze real situations and brainstorm different approaches.
That sounds really valuable.
It is. It is. Yeah, it makes sense. Like if you're going to invest all this time and energy into coaching,
Right.
you want it to be, I don't know, like a real system.
A structured process.
Yeah, exactly. Not just like winging it.
Definitely.
So peer-to-peer learning, that's huge.
It is. It's so valuable.
Okay, so we've covered so much ground here.
We have.
The what, the why, and even like the how-to of this transformational coaching.
It's a lot,
It is. But, you know, I'm always thinking about our listener
of course.
who is maybe like sitting there going, okay, this is all fascinating, but like, what does it mean for me?
Right.
You know, like how does this apply to my life, my work?
Yeah, that's the million-dollar question.
It is. So what would you say like the biggest takeaway is?
That's a good question.
Right.
I think for me, it's that coaching, especially this transformational approach that Aguilar talks about.
Yeah.
It's not just about solving problems.
Okay.
It's about like really empowering people.
Empowering people, yeah.
To create lasting change.
I love
Not just for themselves,
Yeah.
but for like the whole system around them.
Yeah, like their schools, their communities.
Exactly.
It's about shifting those mindsets,
Mm-hmm.
building relationships,
Yeah.
and like tapping into all that potential that we all have.
That we all have, but sometimes forget about.
Exactly. But, you know, it's hard
It is.
because we're doing all this within these systems that often feel so big and complex.
Yeah. Systems can be overwhelming.
They can. But Aguilar reminds us that individuals can make a difference.
That's important to remember.
It is.
Yeah.
And that even small actions, when you do them with intention, with skill,
Yeah.
they can create a ripple effect.
Oh, I like that. A ripple effect.
Right. And have a real impact.
It's like that butterfly effect, right?
Yeah, exactly. It reminds me of that quote. I think it's Margaret Mead. Never doubt that a small group of thoughtful, committed citizens can change the world. Indeed, it's the only thing that ever has.
Oh, that's a good one.
Right.
Powerful.
So to bring it back to our deep dive today,
Mm-hmm.
I want to leave our listener with a question.
Okay, I like questions.
How can you use these principles of coaching,
The listening, the questioning.
yeah, the feedback,
Mm-hmm.
to help someone in your life grow?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? Yeah.
Think about it. It could be a student, a colleague,
Yeah, a friend,
a family member,
anyone you want to support.
anyone.
Because transformation, it always starts with that first step.
It does. That first step is so important.
So what will yours be?
What will yours be?
Until next time, keep diving deep and keep believing in the power of change.
Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for listening.